So have we all been making these reverse collage magazine journals, you know, like DeDe Willingham showed us? Everybody, you've been doing that? Yeah. Yeah, me too. Or I've been trying. Okay, this, I don't have any of the cool magazines like she has, you know, like Somerset Studio that has lots and lots of pictures of art. But I do have a lot of these instructional books for art journaling, and this is for altered books that, you know, I've had like 10 years or whatever. I tried this in one of these and it was really not good. This is not the ideal place to do these because a lot of the pictures are small and square and they have hands in them. So yeah, this really, see, that's just not the best. I mean, this is okay, you know, this is good. So I've started on this one, but there's just not very many like these. So I was feeling almost like this was going to be a big fat fail for me. But I have found that the magazine does make a difference, or at least it does for me, because I really need something to work around, something really good to work around, you know, more than just a tiny butterfly would be good. So anyway, I've been doing this and gonna keep at it until I get something that I like. But the other day at the Canvas Corp, we have a creative workout every Tuesday where people come into the store and we just do crafty stuff together. Sometimes we do a thing, sometimes it's we all just work on our own thing, right? And last week, one of the girls brought some of these Birds and Blooms magazines to share. She had some back issues. And I'd never seen this magazine before, but it has birds and it has blooms. And they're really good because they have big pictures of birds and flowers so that they're easy to work around, to do the reverse collage. If you don't know what I mean by reverse collage, that's where, you know, instead of layering papers on top, you take the background away. So like I would just paint around this bird and leave it as my focal image or one of the main images, and then fill in around it with other stuff, just kind of blocking out what was originally there. I'll show you what I mean. But this little magazine, they have big, clear pictures, lots of color, you know, super cool birds and flowers. See, that just wouldn't take much at all to block out this and block out this, right? And then you have this beautiful picture. And even if you don't reverse collage around it, just for, you know, fussy cutting and regular collage, the images are fantastic. Look how big those birds are. And so, yeah, I just, look, a little green all of this out, and then you have this super cool thing. These are great. So I grabbed one of these, started working in it, ended up with this. And this is not quite finished yet, but it's almost finished. It's to the point where I can show you, and I kind of feel like I really hit my reverse collage groove in this one, because this one made sense. And this is actually an entire magazine. I've taken it apart, but all of the pages are here in one form or another. I'll show you what I did. Okay, so this was the cover, and like this one, you know, it had this central bird image and then a lot of words, and I used white paint to go over the words. You can gesso them out, or you can just start putting color, doesn't matter. And we're going to actually do some of this, so I'll show you exactly what I mean, so don't worry if you're confused. But, you know, it was just super simple to keep the branch and the bird, and it just made a beautiful kind of art journal page, right? And like I said, I kept the whole magazine intact. Well, kind of, sort of. I did rebind it in the end because if you put a lot of paint on it, it does fall apart. These magazine pages are not designed to hold up to a lot of wet media. But that's okay, because see, you can turn it into something really awesome. And I just did this with that crisscross stitch loose leaf binding, which I have showed in another video. I'll link to that somewhere. So anyway, this is what I did. And for the cover, since it is, you know, kind of flimsy, and I wanted it to be sturdier in my new art journal, so what I did was I put a jelly print on the back, and this is a gel print that had been done on cardstock, so that made it heavier. And I did that in quite a few places throughout here, because you know, some of your pages don't have birds or blooms on them. They have advertisements and stuff, because you know, that's how they keep the magazine affordable. So on pages that didn't have a lot going on some of them, I glued a gel print over them because I had a big stack of them I'd done recently. And then on some of them, I just painted over them just to make a painty background, random painty background that I can put something else on later. So you can use every single page in the magazine. And I did on occasion when there were several, you know, like, okay, these two don't have anything going on, I did glue a few of them together, which you can do in the beginning when you first flip through it, or just do it as you go. And you know, in this case, I would probably glue all three of those together like that. So you can paint on them, you can glue another paper to collage on them, or you can just glue them together as far as the ugly pages go. Here's what I did. Some of them I did really, you know, art journal-y, I guess, looking. I had some stencils out and did that whole thing. And then others I just left kind of painty so I can build on later. This was another gel print, and that bird and these flowers were already there. And what you do is you just kind of take the colors that are already in the page and add more of them. So it's really super simple to pick out the colors that you need to use. And there was that one. And this was a gel print. And then I think those were all the ones that I, you know, kind of finished. And then the rest of them, some of them I might leave, but some of them, you know, they've got space for extra things. And I did do a little actual collage in my reverse collage. If you can see that weird print in the background here, I had some of this dyed tissue paper like this. It was already printed with some flowers, and those are the leaves. And I have another video where I showed how I dyed these tissue papers with just watercolors and inks and stuff. And on several of the pages, I did collage some of these in there just to help cover up the writing and other stuff that I didn't want. And I had some that, you know, kind of matched the colors. So that was a fun thing to do. See, this one was a page that didn't have anything fun on it, so I just made it a painty page. And then this one, I glued on a gel print. And then those are the images that were in the magazine. And I just kind of did the whole reverse collage thing around them. That was a gel print. This was already in here, this bird, and it had this cool orange flower. And then I found this gel print that had the orange and put it here, and then kind of used this to build the rest of the colors around the bird. So I think that turned out really cool. See, this one, I think it needs some more. It might need just some stenciling or something in the background. And that one, I don't know, I could put more stuff, but you know, it's kind of that situation where they really look kind of cool like they are, but there's still areas where you can add to them later. So, you know, it's not finished, but it could be. Oh, these are two of my favorites. Even this one, I mean, there's not a lot going on. The background was a dark green, so I just kind of added various colors of green. But that bird just pops so well. I might just leave it like it is. I don't know. And then this one's one of my favorites. And if you can see kind of a light colored halo around the bird, I used, in this whole book, I used you know, a little bit of that tissue paper, acrylic paint, and some water-soluble oil pastels. And that's what this is. It's just water-soluble oil pastels. And I found that doing that around the edges of the birds kind of made them look like they're painted too. You know, they kind of blend into the background instead of having this weird sharp edge where the clear picture ends and then the paint begins. This kind of helps to blend the two, I thought. So anyway, that's what I used. I'll show you, don't worry. Another one of my favorites, I think because I had some tissue, dyed tissue that just happened to be the exact colors of this bird. So it just worked out perfect. those two. And that one's pretty. This one was another page that just wasn't really doing it for me, so I started adding some paint. Haven't finished it yet. Another one. And you might be able to tell that in the background of some of these you can see some light colors, like dry brushed. I did that on a lot of them, on most of them, because it just really does help the background colors to come together. Because here, you know, they all just look kind of, I don't know, disjointed. But when you do this technique on them, it just brings them all together and they make sense. It's hard to describe, but I'll show you. Same with this. This was just a bunch of green everywhere, and it had words up here, so I put tissue paper up there and then just kind of touched up the greens here and there and added, you know, enhanced the few colors that were already in it, and then just went over it with the dry brush technique, and it just looks kind of ethereal, or like it's raining. I don't know. It's very nature-y looking. This just didn't work. I don't even remember what I was trying to accomplish here, but I failed. I don't know what's happening here, but it's just a jumping off point for something else. That's how I'm looking at it, because I do not like where it is. Gel print and this little bird. And then this little guy and this weird flower. This one had a hard time coming together, but it finally did. That's a gel print. Gel print. This one needs some help with the colors. I am not liking what's happening with the background here. So I'll do some more on that. And that one's kind of weird too. I think it probably just needs some stencils or something around it, and then he'll be okay. And that was a gel print. This little guy, I don't know. I am torn between leaving it and painting right over it, because that tiny little hummingbird just gets kind of lost on the page, which has this big weird red flower and these colors. I don't even know why I picked them, because they make no sense. So maybe that's it. Maybe it just needs different colors. I'm not sure. Back cover, same thing. I put a gel print that was on cardstock on the inside of the back cover so it would be sturdy. And then, oh, I just love how the back turned out. Even just plain like it is, I think that's perfect. That one makes me really happy. So that is what I did. I just reverse collaged and filled in the other pages with whatever. And now I will show you how to do this, or how I did it. Let's use this one, and let's use, so this could be a big 2-page spread, right? So you're gonna need a magazine that has some colorful, pretty images that you can use. And you know, it can be an art magazine, or use one of these like the Birds and Blooms or a nature magazine or something, because this is like, I would not have sought this out if it had not fallen in my lap. But now that it has, I see that it's a great choice. You're going to need some acrylic paint, and the colors that you're going to need depend on your magazine. And I literally just opened my paint drawer, flipped through the magazine, and started grabbing colors that were pretty similar to the colors that I saw in the magazine. So that makes it really easy to choose your palette. You're going to need some kind of a little palette to squeeze your paint out on, and then some brushes. You're going to need some big ones and then a few little ones. You're going to need some water to rinse your brush, and you're probably going to need some paper towels. And if you have them, you can use some water-soluble oil pastels. These are the Portfolio brand. I think that's by Crayola. And they're very inexpensive, and I love them. So you can use those too. And you can start by just adding the color, or you can start by whiting stuff out with gesso or white acrylic paint. Doesn't matter. I forgot, you're also going to need some wax paper to put in between your pages so they don't stick if they're wet, and probably a heat gun. Is that it? I think that's it. Okay. Oh yeah, and your paint wipe off book. I've been using this as my little, you know, wipe off my paint brushes thing. So yeah, gotta have that. So let's do this. Let's do it, let's do a little of both. Let me take some white acrylic paint, and I have an assortment here of good acrylics and craft acrylics, and it does not matter. Use what you have. If you want to use gesso, you know, whatever. Okay, now you can white out some of your areas, and you don't have to worry about getting it perfect because you're going to put lots of layers, you know, well, I am anyway. So you can do that whole thing, or you can just jump straight in with the greens. This is a dark green called Hooker's Green. Go ahead and giggle. I do every time. I do a lot of finger painting and blending and all of that too. This is how I start, and of course, you know, I'm not going to take the time to do one page start to finish because it's not how I roll. If that's how you roll, go for it, roll with it, you know, do your thing. But for me, I am more likely just to go page to page. And what I found worked best for me is, you know, I've got my dark green out, so let's find something else that needs dark green. This could probably use a little dark green. I think so. Okay. So, this is going to be awesome. Okay, I think I'm probably just going to keep the butterfly because there's, I don't know, I still could put, I could just pink over that. Where's my white? I'm not sure what I'm going to do here, so I'm just going to go in with white until I decide. It's got a lot of dark greens, so I can just do that. So you get the idea, right? Whether you go in with gesso or white paint, or go ahead and start with colors, doesn't really matter. You know, if you use gesso, you're going to get better coverage. For me, it's not an issue because, you know, I'm really heavy-handed with my paint. I use a lot, and I use a lot of layers. So the fact that this is not completely covered up, not a problem. Just gives me more opportunities to go slap in some color. I've let my paint dry for 2 or 3 days. Had stuff to do. But anyway, it's dry, so now I'm going to start going in and just adding some more colors and layers and stuff. Let's see. Let's start with it really doesn't matter. Okay, let's start with these. This one, I know that I've got this weird kind of, what is this? Apple barrel. Oh, pear is the color. And it kind of looks like it might go in here. See, it's just kind of a pukey greenish yellow. And I'm just gonna get a medium-sized brush. It's kind of a stiff one, doesn't matter. Because I kind of paint like this, you know. I'm just gonna swirl this around and do it like that. And I'm gonna kind of finger paint now and then. And not really worry about getting anything just right. I do not want to mess up my bird. But other than that, I'll just put this anywhere. Like so. And that's all there is to this reverse collage thing, seriously. You just keep doing that until you get it like you want it. Let's just add some of this here. And I even, on the areas that I didn't cover up, I add paint too, because I want the whole thing to look kind of painty, you know. I want it to almost look like the picture has been painted, so you don't want a definite line between the background and the pictures. And in my mind, I'm thinking this will get darker around the edges and then lighter around the bird. So I'll just leave that like that and blend in some more colors. So you see how this works, right? We just keep layering colors, kind of start with what's already there, and then you can build on that if you want to, add different colors, or just keep going, see what happens. Now I'm going to show you how to use some water-soluble oil pastels if you would like to. These are great for blending some of your colors together, or for adding little pops of color here and there. Not something you have to use, but I like to use them. They're okay on the plain magazine itself. They don't add a lot because they're really transparent on the slick paper, but they do well on top of other acrylics. One color that I use a lot for blending greens is this one. It's called Masse, kind of a mossy green, and it just does really well for helping all the greens come together. And you can just do this, and this is exactly how I do it. Just scribble it on and then smush it with my finger. And in that other magazine, you'll notice that I had some of the birds had like a little border around them, and I used this gray color to do that. Just kind of went like this, and that kind of helped them stand out. You know, it's kind of the oil pastel version of a Stabilo all, you know. And you can wet this and blend it. There's just really no need to on this paper because it blends so easily already anyway that it almost blends away. Now you can go in and add more acrylics on top of this. You know, it's not ideal to layer stuff on top of it because it is oil. It's oil pastel. But You can make it work. It will work. Okay, so you get the idea, right? You can use the oil pastels to kind of set off your focal images, blend your colors in the background, and also enhance some of your colors. Let me find a good example of that. Okay, like in this one, I've already started adding some pink for the flowers, so I can use some oil pastels to go in and, you know, further enhance that if I want to. And I can do the same on the butterfly. I added a little bit of paint down here to make him look a little painty. And I can put some pastels in there too. And kind of blend. So I guess this is basically just tracing. You know, if you have the skills to go in and, you know, blot out your backgrounds and then add more images, draw something or whatever, you know, go for it. Awesome. That's not in my skill set, not something I want to do or am even really good at, but I really like this. I really like using what's there and then making it better or different. This one, I noticed, I thought I would like to maybe put a little bit more of a blue-green in that birdhouse. Not that it wasn't already lovely, but I can make it lovelier, right? So, you can add color, you can change color, you can blend colors. There we go. And like I said, you can take a little water and blend these out because they are water soluble oil pastels. I will come back another day and show you how this ends up. But that's all there is to the process. Is just blot out what you don't want and then add in colors or images or whatever that you do want. And you can see that it's starting to fall apart, and that's fine. I usually, you know, when it starts to fall apart, I will just pull these. Do I have something safer than my fingernails to use? Oh, an X-Acto knife, because that's safer. Let's see. And then when you get through to rebind it, you know, you can do like I did and do a loose leaf binding. Or if you want to try to keep them together, it's going to be really hard to keep them like this, because the more stuff you add, this is going to weaken and it's going to want to pull apart. You can washi tape this. Now when you washi tape and then rebind, you're going to get a lot of creep, which means your pages are going to stagger. They're not going to be even on the end. So that can look kind of funky if you do it that way. But you can always just trim those ends that poke out. You can trim those off if you need to. So you can do that by keeping them together, or just go ahead and separate them. But pull the staples out, and then you won't have to worry about the staples ripping your pages. You just have to pay attention to the paint ripping your pages, right? And it'll happen. It's magazine paper. This is not watercolor paper. This was not intended to be painted upon, which to me just makes it kind of cool. It's pushing its boundaries or whatever. So that is all I have for you. That is basically how I reverse collage. Someone else may do it different, but this is what I enjoy. And I hope that you will give it a try And don't forget, you can always join my Facebook group and share pictures there of what you're doing, any of the techniques I show that you try out. I love looking at those, and there's a link down in the video description. And for now, that's all I've got for ya. The end.